when I say stress, we all interpret it differently. Stress to the body just means it's not working well. Something's not working well internally, or it's in fear. It's one of the two. To us, we equate like challenges in life or hard times to stress, but that's just how we interpret it. The body only knows it's stress when we see fear. That's it. You could have two people go on a roller coaster and one person's like, yeah, this is kick ass, I love it. And the other person's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, right? So we tend to equate all these external things as stress, but they're really how we interpret them. So if you imagine you're in the woods, taking a hike, you turn the corner and there's a bear. Your heart rate goes up, your eyes focus in on the bear. Your body changes in that moment, and it's one of the most beautiful things because we change the way we utilize our blood sugar. We change the way that we divert blood to different parts of our body. And the idea is that we actually get away from the bear. But in modern day life, we don't recover. Our body doesn't know the difference between an actual bear and a buzz of a cell phone or another task that gets added to our to-do list. All it knows is our brain says, there's one more thing we have to do. One more thing, and we stay in this cascade of cortisol release. When cortisol is dysregulated, elevated when it doesn't need to be elevated, it has an impact on our blood sugar. It has an impact on our hormone, our liver health, our detoxification, our absorption of nutrients, our mood, our sleep. If we don't have nutrients, we can't make energy. If we can't make energy, our body's stressed. It's funny because the external stressors cause internal stressors. Those aren't stress, we make them stress. Those are circumstances, they're challenges, they're opportunities, they're invitations to see the world in a different way.
Before we dive into today's episode, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor that makes this Generational Health podcast possible, Hiva Health. At Hiva, we're all about helping you live longer, feel stronger, show up better for the people and passions that matter most. Whether it's hormone optimization, medical weight loss, peptide therapy, personal skincare, or gut health, Hiva delivers modern, proactive healthcare that's designed around you. It's fully virtual, available nationwide, and powered by real technology and real people who actually care. If you're ready to invest in your health span, not just your lifespan, head over to hivahealth.com and start your journey today. I should note that prescription medications must be prescribed by a licensed provider in your state, and individual results will vary. And with that, let's go ahead and get started on our episode. Thank you. Dr. Tricia Pingel.
Yes. Hello.
I thought I was going to pronounce it wrong, but thank you so much for coming into the Generational Health podcast. I'm just really excited to have you here. We have another guest that was on here that kind of got us connected, said we should connect, didn't actually connect us, but we got connected anyway. So anyway, I'm really happy that we were able to make this happen and that you were able to come down here.
I'm psyched to be here.
Yeah.
What a great way to spend a Friday morning.
I know,
Thanks for
right?
having me.
It is Friday and it is morning, which means when this is done, hopefully you have the rest of the day.
I have a massage this afternoon.
There you go.
Got to take care of yourself.
Jeez, I need to get a massage.
I know. You do.
Well, why don't we just start off by maybe if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and how you got into what you're doing today.
Oh, that's a long story. Let's see. I'll give you the quick roadmap. So yeah, time. I was actually raised in the Northwest Seattle area. Didn't come to Arizona until college because I wanted sunshine because it was gloomy and doomy up there. So I was out as fast as you could say graduation. I was out the door. But yeah, I grew up in the fashion industry. Actually, I'm a fashion model, grew up on stage, on runways, in front of cameras. My mom was a Jansen Smile girl, which in the 60s was a pretty big deal. It was kind of like the Victoria's Secret models of the 60s. And my dad was a photographer for Sunset Films and a musician and a jack of kind of all trades. And so I grew up in front of the camera on stages, and that was kind of expected of what I was going to be. That was my future. And somewhere along the line, I just switched. I started really becoming interested in human behavior. What makes someone do something and another person not do something? And started to move more into the sciences, went into biology, was going to become a veterinarian, and was on the course to go to vet school and got a call during finals that my dad had had a stroke and flew home. He was unresponsive. He was in a coma. I was 24 years old, had just been engaged. Like my life was just kind of starting. And I think in that moment, to be honest, was when I decided to go, into medicine, because as the patient and the family of the patient, and seeing the disconnect between the medical staff and the patient and the family, the lack of support, the, how should I say it? I knew a lot about the brain at that point, and I kept asking, well, is this recoverable? Just tell me, like, should we pull the plug on my dad or not? I mean, when you're 24 and you're trying to make that decision, you want to know, what are the odds he's going to survive? Well, we'll see. Well, we'll see. We're not sure. Well, let's find out. We'll just give it a go. We'll just, and I started to see that there's a lot more education needed in the medical field. Got home, switched to the medical route, found naturopathic medicine, went into that, and that is where I have been. And we can go into some of the story, what happened after that, but that wasn't my first introduction to grief or powering through a stressful situation. And that's just been a lifelong lesson for me that I don't think really came to fruition until the last 10 years, where I was like, you know what? If I keep powering through things in my life and not facing them and not growing from them and taking these adversities as opportunities, I'm never going to get past them. And so that's where the second half of my life has gone, is just figuring out, how can I make this the best day, the best life, and impact somebody, just one person every single day, and make them smile. And if I do that, that's enough for me now, or it didn't used to be.
Oh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I've gone through your bio, and you've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I was going through, and we were talking before we started. I'm like, I don't even know where to start, because you got like, you've written books. Obviously, you have your practice, you podcast, you have communities of people that you help. So what would you say your primary focus is?
I mean, I just want to make someone smile every day. I want someone to feel good every single day. That lights me up. I don't think you really appreciate how lucky you are to wake up every day until you witness people that don't wake up every day. And we get caught up with all the stress, all the things around us, we have to do this, we have to be that. And really, there's so much gratitude and love in just waking up and petting your dog and smiling at your kids and going downstairs and making yourself breakfast. My dad, that morning, he had a stroke. He woke up, got ready for work, went downstairs to have breakfast, opened the fridge, and he fell to the ground. He didn't know. He didn't know that that was going to be the last time he opened the fridge. Yeah. But how many times do we open the fridge and we're not gracious for the food inside? If anything, we complain, man, we're out of bread. Who forgot to go? Instead of saying, oh, look, there's something else there we should be grateful for. So I think at this point in my life, being able to do things that bring happiness not only to myself, but also to others around me and lift people up, if that's all I do, then it's okay if I wake up tomorrow and I open the fridge and I don't come back.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, because I think a lot of us, it's very easy for us to get caught up in the stresses of life and, the rat race, and talk about burnout a little bit, and careers and people pleasing and all that kind of stuff, that it's easy for us not to just be grateful for the very basic things that we have. Similar to your experience with your dad. Just within the last couple of months, my mom had a similar experience. She woke up one morning, she just wasn't feeling well. My dad was getting ready for work and he was leaving, and he could tell that she was like not feeling well. And she said, hey, can you help me go to walk into the bathroom? So he kind of like helped her in. As they were walking back to like put her back in bed, she just collapsed. And she went into what looked like a stroke. It actually wasn't a stroke, but she was basically stroking out, ended up being seizures. But wow. It's kind of like, it's just so unusual. Like the day before, she could be making a meal for one of the neighbors because they had something and she was just serving them or whatever. And the next morning, you could have something that completely knocks you out and puts you in the ICU for 5 weeks. So thankfully, she actually just went home yesterday. She's been in the hospital for a long time. I mean, we're talking like, she was in the hospital for 8 weeks. So most of that was in the ICU, and then kind of went into more like the rehab side of things. But all around, they still haven't diagnosed her with anything. They don't know for sure what it is, but they're treating it as though it's some autoimmune encephalitis type disorder, which is a mystery in and of itself. But it just kind of things like that happen. and we're not going to be able to stop all that from happening. And so sometimes, to your point, we get up in the morning and we also need to just take a moment to be grateful that like we had the opportunity to get up and it's Friday and you get to go get a massage today. Like, that's pretty awesome,
Yeah. And that she is still with you.
Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't always go that way.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry for that, but I'm glad to hear she's on her way home.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She's home now. And so now it's still just kind of going through some of the rehab there, but maybe tell us a little bit about how you help people with the feelings of burnout and stress, and what are some of the effects that like the everyday stresses, cortisol spikes have on our systems, and how you see that kind of overtake people's lives, and I don't know, just the physical aspect that stress can have on us.
I think maybe we start by defining what is stress, because when I say stress, we all interpret it differently, right? Stress to the body just means it's not working well. Something's not working well internally, or it's in fear. It's one of the two. But to us, we equate like challenges in life or hard times to stress, but that's just how we interpret it. And when we're born, our brains aren't stressed, right? You might have different personalities. You have some wiring in our brain that's there. I mean, I had my first son, as soon as he was born, anything that lit up or beeped or anything, he was like laughing and giggling. And I gave my second son the same toy and he was crying hysterically, right? So they have some wired brain patterns when they're born, but they're looking to us to model the behavior. You see this in the playground. A child falls down and the first thing he does is look at parents. Am I okay? Right? And if mom freaks out, child freaks out. If mom doesn't freak out, child doesn't freak out, right? So we start coming into the world, right, without this fear response. We're kind of just open. And then throughout time, these experiences around us from watching our environment start to mold what we view as stressful or not. So you could have two people go on a roller coaster and one person's like, yeah, this is kick ass. I love it. And the other person's like, oh my God, I'm going to die, right? So we tend to equate all these external things as stress, but they're really how we interpret them, right? The body only knows it's stress when we see fear. That's it. Or it doesn't have the nutrients and everything that it needs to make energy, because we are an energy factory. So to get back to your question, I've really enjoyed stress and treating stress in people as that type of word, because I really am interested in human behavior. Why is it that some people could have the whole world fall apart and they just float through it? And other people could, bruise their finger in a drawer and their whole day falls apart, right? So when we have a stress response for whatever reason, and our brain and our senses say, uh-oh, there's a problem, we have a physiological kickoff. So if you imagine you're in the woods taking a hike, you turn the corner and there's a bear, right? Your heart rate goes up, your eyes focus in on the bear. Oh, really?
That has happened to me at Yosemite National Park.
What'd you do?
My eyes went like this.
Yeah.
To your point, we were on so we were on one of those kind of like, it wasn't far off of the actual parking lot. So we had just started a hike. We were going to backpack into Yosemite. And so you kind of have the cutbacks as you're going kind of up. And all of a sudden this group of people started running towards us and they run past us. We're like, what the heck is going on? And then a bear came. So we started backtracking around this kind of backtrack over here, and then it cut straight down, and then we just went back up around them. So wow. I have felt the stress of a bear.
Stress response.
Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you
off. No, I love it.
Okay.
Well, I love it because some people say, Tricia, that's not a relatable story. I'm like, I think it is. So you just proved my point.
Just go to Yosemite.
Yeah, but your body changes in that moment. And it's one of the most beautiful things because we change the way we utilize our blood sugar. We change the way that we divert blood to different parts of our body. And the idea is that we actually get away from the bear, right? And we recover. But in modern day life, we don't recover. Keep in mind that we interpret bears differently. So depending on how you live your life, if you're like me, where you do 800 things per day, every time you're turning a corner, there's another bear. Our body doesn't know the difference between an actual bear and a buzz of a cell phone or another task that gets added to our to-do list. All it knows is our brain says, there's one more thing we have to do. One more thing, and we stay in this cascade of cortisol release. And when cortisol is dysregulated, elevated when it doesn't need to be elevated, it has an impact on our blood sugar. It has an impact on our thyroid conversion. It has an impact on our hormone, whether we produce hormones or store hormones or clear hormones, our liver health, our detoxification, our absorption of nutrients, right? How we downregulate everything that's automated, cellular repair, right? Our mood, our sleep. And so then what starts to happen is you have a secondary effect, right? If your digestion is downregulated because you're running from a bear, because you're not going to stop to eat or digest your food when you're running from a bear, then now we don't have nutrients available for our Krebs cycle, for our electron transport chain. Our mitochondria are now starved of nutrients. Well, if we don't have nutrients, we can't make energy. If we can't make energy, our body's stressed. So it's funny because the external stressors cause internal stressors. So what I do is I spend a lot of time looking at what internal stressors are present. Do we have all the nutrients available for our mitochondria? And then once we repair that, get all the hormones leveled out, get everything we need to do, the other thing we have to look at is how do we stop seeing a bear? How do we turn it into a cute little bear cub? Or how do we just say, you know what? It's over there. I'm going to go this way. This path looks good today. And understand that this is modifiable. I ruffle a lot of feathers when I say that stress is an option. Because people say, you don't understand. I've lost my family. I've lost this. I don't have any money. I've lost my job. Those are circumstances. They're challenges. They're opportunities. They're invitations to see the world in a different way, right? Those aren't stress. We make them stress. Those are hard times. And I've come to believe year after year, I've lost, unfortunately, since my dad kicked off a lot of other family members I've lost. I've watched my mom waste away to cancer in 9 months and pass away. She couldn't go to the bathroom by herself. She couldn't eat by herself. And I started to recognize how many times do I go to the bathroom by myself every day? And I don't even think, wow, I can go to the bathroom by myself. I get in the car, I go to the grocery store. I have to go to the grocery store, we say. I get to go to the grocery store. I get to get in my car. I get to drive there. I get to pick up my own groceries. I get to carry them home. So it started to change the way that I look at gratitude and health and longevity, because my goals now, unlike when I was a kid in the modeling industry, are not to lose weight and be as skinny as possible. It's to be as able as possible. I want to be 90 and still be able to drive to the grocery store and carry my groceries in my house and put them away and not be dependent on somebody else. It shifted my focus towards what exactly is health anyway. And I'll tell you, that wasn't easy because I grew up my entire life on a diet. My entire life was about, is my hair done? Is my makeup done? Can I turn into what someone wants me to be in a moment's notice? My car was always full of shoes, outfits, makeup, so that if I got called to go to a casting or to a job, I could turn into what everyone else wanted me to be that day. And if I showed up as Tricia, that wasn't okay. I had to show up as what they wanted. So to go from an industry that looks at the outward appearance as beauty, more so than inward appearance, to later in my life really looking at why the heck am I here and what's my purpose, if I grew up with that, has been quite a personal development for me, but also has allowed me to help patients on a different level as I see them struggling with who they are. I'm not alone. Growing up in the modeling industry back in the 80s may have been alone. Now, look at our kids with social media. They're being told what to be every single day. And I look at the rates of anxiety, depression, suicide in younger people, disease development, cancers in younger people. You know, this has to be related. There has to be a correlation between this fear response and how we interpret the world and how it's impacting our health and causing health decline. There has to be. And so my shift has changed quite a lot towards how do we prevent this?
What would you say are the biggest risks to chronic stress? Like someone that's just dealing with chronic stress, like we're just as a society, we're a stressed out society. Mm-hmm. Kids are stressed. Mm-hmm. Parents are stressed. So as you're talking to patients about this, like what do you, I guess, what would be the voice of warning for those that are just constantly living in a cycle of stress?
Well, I think we learned our stress from our parents. I mean, We looked up at them when we fell down and we asked if we were okay or not. And as much as I love my parents, they did a wonderful job with me, but they grew up in a time where their parents went through the Depression and didn't have anything and said, you need to work hard and you need to make money. So my parents go out, they make money. Women in particular are now getting more into the workforce. My generation is presented with an opportunity for women to do it all, for all of us to do it all. It was just expected to go to college. It wasn't a thought. Expected to go to college, expected to be something. Throughout your life, you have these little things that change that brain chemistry we talked about in the beginning. And we start to see the world in a different way. So what I encourage people to do is look at, okay, what have I modeled from my environment and what am I modeling now for future generations? What am I now teaching the next generation about stress, about being busy, about success, about self-worth? And so we have an opportunity, if we can't stop it in ourselves completely, to start looking at how can we stop it in the next generation. And the coolest thing about energy and passing that type of energy is to other people is they pass it back. So I find people heal when they start thinking about it in what type of example am I setting for these people that I'm bending over backwards to take care of? I mean, I'll tell you, as a woman, I have a husband, I have 2 kids, I have 2 businesses, right? I can do it all. Should I? Probably not, right? But if I look at how are my kids seeing me and what am I teaching them, I find I start making better choices for myself. I start taking care of myself because I want them to see that it's okay to not be busy. It's okay to not be on a phone. It's okay to leave your phone and go to the grocery store. A little quiz for your audience, a little test. If you want to know if you're under stress, leave your phone at home and go somewhere. And see how many times do you feel your pocket or think you forgot your phone or reach into your purse and go, oh, I don't have my phone, right? That's cortisol saying, oh, you're out. You need to keep moving, keep buzzing. You need to know what's going on. You're missing something. Our brains are being retrained to always be on, and we need to learn how to be off. So I think by recognizing that, most of my clients are parents and they love their kids more than anything in the world. So if they can make their lives better, and it also makes their life better, they have this aha moment of, oh my gosh, this is in my control. Do you know that the way we interpret stress is pretty much the only thing that we can control? The only thing we can control is how we react to a situation. We can't control the situation. We can't control what other people are going to do. We can't control if our parents are going to get sick. But we can control how we react. And that's really powerful. And in a world of perfectionism and people pleasing, like you talked about, where we want to control everything, every little nitpicky thing around us, what we really need to control is how we react to the situation. That's only one thing you have to control. And then you have to let go and trust. That's hard.
Yeah. So like with kids, you brought up, I'm really worried about phones and kids and, to your point, which I had never kind of pieced that together, but like your upbringing, always feeling like you're performing, having to be a certain way, look a certain way, be what someone else expects you to be on stage. That really is social media today, because what is being put out there generally is not an authentic version of yourself. A lot of times it's doctored up. It's, hey, I'm going to use this filter and I want to look a certain way because this is how they perceive me. This is what I want them to see me as. So it's always like performing. Just in what you've seen with parents and stress and kids and issues that are going on, how do we help the younger kids and youth today with phones? Because they're not going to go away. Kids are going to continue to need them, want them. We use them. There's a lot of productive things that we do with technology, but what are some of the dangers of technology that you're seeing today?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you could get me up on a soapbox about this all day long. You said we need them. I don't think a 2-year-old needs YouTube.
I didn't say 2-year-olds.
No, I know, but I mean like the world.
I get you. Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? Like I go out and I see a 2-year-old in a stroller with a YouTube. When when our kids were younger and we used to go out to dinner, we brought a bag of toys and games. And a lot of the other kids at the table were all watching TV, on a phone. So I think when the kids are younger, we need to be mindful of experiences, because the way the brain works is we have to create all these new neural networks in our brain of creativity, problem solving and creativity. And I think some of the things that the phone and social media at too young of an age take away is they take away our brain's ability to build those pathways. So then we find the kid hit 14. Well, I'm bored. Well, everyone else has it. Well, I just want to play video games. That's what all my friends do, right? Whereas if you've gotten them into something creative, dance, music, drawing, allowed them to go outside and play, you see those kids with far less anxiety, less ADD, less depression than the ones that have been on screens all the time. I don't think there's any doubt, and the research supports that the more you're on a screen, kid or adult, the more focus problems you're going to have. That has been well documented. So I think it's a problem that we do need to address, because even though computers and technology are in our life, that doesn't mean that we need it 24/7. In our house, we brought back game night when the kids became teens. We said, okay, every Sunday, we're going to sit around the table and we're going to play games. My kids' favorite night. At first, they ho and hummed about it. Oh, I just want to sit and watch something. And then once we get in there and we're playing Trivial Pursuit and we're doing fun things, you see them light up. You see different parts of them just get excited. So I think we as role models need to look at, what are we showing our kids? Are we on our phone all day? When they come up and ask, hey, Mom, do you want to go outside and throw the football? Are we like, sorry, buddy, I'm too busy. I've got things to do. Or are we like, hey, yeah, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to finish that, and I'm with you, man, and leave the phones inside. It could be as simple as that. The social media aspect and the impression that it's putting, especially on young girls, is huge. And I think we all need to remember that social media is marketing. We get paid to put on products and say, this is the best product and this is what you're supposed to look at. It is a marketing funnel. That is what it is. I personally did not give my kids access to social media. I have a 17-year-old now. He just joined Instagram. So far, he just looks at French Bulldog videos. So far, it's okay. But they were begging me at 12. And the question is, do we, now they have kids accounts and stuff, but is that healthy? Like, I think at some point we do have to put the brakes as role models and say, your brain's not ready for that. Because it's a drug.
There's a video going around this week, actually, of a mom that took a video of these two little kids, and she was asking them what this device was, and it was an iPad. Have you seen this?
No.
So she put an iPad in front of them, and she goes, "Hey, what is this?" And these two kids, they were probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years old, maybe 4-ish. Mm-hmm. And neither of them knew what an iPad was, because she hadn't allowed them to have one. Yeah. And it's crazy because she was getting a lot of hate on it. Like that she was, I don't know, I don't know what the hate was for. It was like depriving or trying to like guilt other parents or something. I don't know what it was, but it was the cutest video because these two kids were so dang cute. And they're just looking at this thing. They're like, a screen? Like, what do you want me to say? She kept saying, you don't know what this is. And yeah. But they had no idea what an iPad was. And I thought, man, that's pretty amazing, because for parents, it is, I'm guilty of it too. The device is the easy way. Mm-hmm. It's a babysitter. It's like, it's an easy way out.
It's how we check out. Mm-hmm.
And it is addicting for the kids. So for them, they want it, and we've gotten a lot better about taking devices away and having like certain time where they can watch their shows or do whatever it is they want to do. But only after we make sure they're in lots of activities. Just because I worry about a lot of different things with screens and social media and their ability to develop socially is a little different and distorted. I mean, I look back when I was a kid and we didn't have all the phones. It's so weird to me going back that it's just like, if I wanted to go hang out with a friend, I would ride my bike probably a mile and I'd knock on his door, might not even be home. And I'd just be like, hey, can so-and-so hang out? It's like, oh, sorry, he's not here. Okay. Then I go find the next friend and I go knock on that door. And that's how you would go. And I just think about that just from a young kid developmental brain, to go to someone's house, talk to their parent. Kids don't do that anymore. They probably don't talk to most of their friends' parents ever.
And most of them are socially anxious.
Yeah.
Low self-worth, don't have confidence. They're afraid to walk into new situations. I mean, I was raised like that too. And if you called somebody and you got an answering machine, you just left a message. And you didn't know if you missed a call until you got home and checked your answering machine. And then you had to make the choice. Do I want to call back? Or do I just want to sit down and have dinner? Or is this something I can handle tomorrow? We set better boundaries with that. And I think your point of going to people's houses and having to speak to the parents, you know, when you called a girl to ask her out, you had to talk to the parents first, right? You couldn't just Snapchat and take a picture, right? And I think of that too. And I look at the relationships and how my kids don't hang out in these large groups anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, I bought a big house, got a pool table, thought, oh, all the kids will come hang over. It'll be great. Nobody ever comes over, right? Because they're interacting in a different way. Yeah. Some people would argue that that's good. It's a different way. I think there's benefits to everything. Like I said, even hardship, I think there's opportunity. And I think technology provides a lot of opportunity as well. But I think we have to keep in check that if we train our brains to always rely on something else or somebody else to get by, we're not actually developing those pathways of problem solving and conflict resolution. And we see this in the world. The examples of conflict resolution that we have in the world right now are very poor. You know, it's like the Hatfields and McCoys all over again. And it's a shame because we're modeling for our children that we can't think differently. And that if you're like this, you're like this. And if you're like this, we're giving everyone labels, different things, and not just looking at what we all have in common. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with their children. So my only hope as a parent is like, okay, how can I ensure that my kids have kids and they don't pass the same thing on to them and keep this chaos going? Because this is a huge opportunity for that generation, particularly Gen Z, to change the world. Mm-hmm. If they see this through a different lens and they look at it objectively and say, okay, this isn't what's working. I have enough confidence and self-worth now to know that I can make a change. And I think self-worth is a huge thing. Do you talk to a lot of perimenopausal women on your show at all?
I mean, we don't, I do, but we don't specifically talk about, I've brought several doctors on here. We talk about perimenopause a lot. Yeah.
Because I see that a lot in my age group. I see a lot of women with low self-worth. They don't know who they are. They've spent their entire lives taking care of families and going to work and doing all the things and doing everything for everyone else and being influenced by this and that and this in comparison to all the other moms who are now traveling when you're not and whatever that social media tells us. And we're really struggling. I think the ages 40, the 40s and 50s right now, I think a lot of women, and I assume men as well, are really struggling with who are we? Why are we here? Is this what we want? What do we want to do next? And then we're seeing our parents pass away, and we're in a very interesting time in our life. And it's our job to change that because we're experiencing it, and we're seeing our kids experience it. So we need to stand up and do our job a bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I worry, so kind of going back to like, I guess our youth, so there is a lot of good, I guess, that comes from the advancing technology. Mm-hmm. I worry about AI being kind of the next wave for our kids because it's hard for me to even imagine what the next 10 years is going to look like, or 20 years, Crazy. You know, or you mentioned their kids and what their kids are going to be experiencing. It's like my brain won't even allow me to go there because I couldn't have imagined that what we have today, back when I was a kid knocking doors to go hang with friends, that I would think that all this stuff exists today.
My kids took a Waymo to the Suns game last night with their dad. Okay. They had a car that didn't even have a driver.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Which is so cool. And it is so amazing. But the sad reality is that if you look at actual statistics right now around the health of Americans, specifically our youth, they're sicker than they've ever been. They're more obese than they've ever been. Mm-hmm. Chronic illness is higher than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. Suicide ideation is higher than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. There's all of this other stuff that's running rampant in the background. And then you get to these other generations and you got people that are in the pre and perimenopause state of life where they've raised their kids and they're maybe done with the baby phase, but now they're trying to like figure out who they are again. And Meanwhile, hormones are just like bouncing off the walls, So it's like there's all these different phases of life. They're all heavily jeopardized right now by our environment too. So,
and cortisol for sure.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what do you think is driving? Like, I know it's not a single factor, but like, what's driving the most stress and anxiety in our society right now? Like, why are people so dang sick?
Overstimulation. I think we're overstimulated. Our brains are overstimulated. We're in a fear response constantly. Everything is a problem. Everything is anger. If you look at on the side of energetic medicine, we live on different frequencies of energies. Like you can be down in anger and blame. And it's been shown that if you spend your life in anger and blame, like you'll have more disease versus spending more time in love, gratitude, acceptance, that type of thing up here. And our world is primarily negative, everything we see. I mean, I didn't learn of every single car crash that happened in my city when I was a kid. When you turned on the news, we see everything immediate, everything's fast. Our brains are learning to respond fast. We're just overloaded with information. Not always bad information. I mean, how many doctors do we have out there talking about hormones? Everyone has a slightly different opinion. Which one do you listen to, right? Before you actually went to one doctor, sat in front of them, and you had a conversation with that doctor. Now we're getting influenced all over the world. So I think there is many, I know this is a title from somewhere else, but we're being influenced to death, right? And it's overstimulating our brains. It's causing a ton of different emotions, which are then having a direct impact on how our adrenal glands respond. So our adrenal glands release that cortisol, and that downregulates everything in our system for cellular repair. There are more cancers, there's more immune inflammation, there's more depletion of hormones, depletion of nutrients, and then we cannot produce energy. I mean, our whole job is to produce ATP. If you think of it like a conveyor belt, like if you had a product, you start at the beginning and you move down and the product is energy, right? What if when you're going along, B6 just decides, I'm not going to show up today, right? The conveyor belt gets backed up. Everyone gets mad at vitamin B6. He didn't show up. What's going on? So they call a different department. Maybe they bring in someone to stand in for B6, doesn't know how to do the job. All the workers are unhappy. The boss is unhappy. There's no energy being produced, right? And the body has to adapt. It has to figure out, how can I make the product without B6? So it adapts. So we develop a new modification, an adaptation in our biology, which is fascinating, isn't it? That we have the ability to adapt. Survival of the fittest. So we are adapting to a very negative and overstimulated society so that we can make energy. Maybe not as much energy, which is why we're all tired, right? But it's opening it up to every opportunity to form disease in every aspect of our system, because every single system is impacted. And the other question is, why didn't B6 show up, right? Well, if you're running from a bear, you're burning through B12, B6, B5. You're burning through magnesium, right? You're burning through selenium, zinc. These are all things that are imperative for every single system. Magnesium's involved in over 300 chemical reactions in our body, right? It's one of the number one deficiencies in our country. Why? Is it because we're not eating enough magnesium? As a country, we eat so much red meat. We have plenty of magnesium. The question is, why aren't we absorbing it? Right? So then you get all these people that go on these diets and they do everything perfectly. They exercise every day. They eat these great diets and they still have disease. They still have problems with their health. They still can't figure it out. And I would say you're not paying attention to cortisol, because you can do everything perfectly, but if your body can't absorb it and your body can't utilize it, it's stressed, whether you like it or not. And so I think that's why we're seeing it. And you mentioned, toxins. And obviously we have sedentary environments. We have toxins, which are contributing to it as added stress. But if we don't slow down a little bit and start to refigure our senses, how do we interpret that bear? It's through our senses, right? Smell, touch, sight. That's how our brain says, oh, this is dangerous or this isn't dangerous. So we have to start to change the way that we look at the world. We have to change the lens we look at the world. And did you know you can do that? You can do that with the EEGs. You can look at brain patterns. You can learn how to change them in natural ways.
So I'm curious, with maybe specific to all these, I'm just thinking about when you're talking about stress responses and cortisol and trying to get it under control, and how you'll never be able to, balance your hormones or lose the weight or all this kind of stuff if you're not giving your body the chance to do it because of cortisol. I go straight to thinking about all the busy moms right now. We're kind of in that phase where we've got kids at home, and I have kids at 3 different schools. And so like our morning routine is insane. And then the night routine is also insane because they're in sports and dance and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I'm just thinking like, if there's a busy mom listening to this thinking like, well, good luck. How do I manage this stress and the cortisol? I can't turn it off. I have to get up. I have to get all my kids ready for school. Once I get them off to school, then I got to do all my chores and activities and things and work or whatever else it is. And then the second that's done, I'm running kids to this, I'm running kids to that, and I don't have any time to slow down. So good luck. And they just brush this off as being like, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to live in a stressful environment. What would be your response to that?
I don't know how you feel about my response. Let's back up a second. Why do we feel like we have to have our kids in 8,000 different things and that we have to be involved in every single aspect of their life? You know, I did activities after school, but I went to the school that was local. I walked to school. My parents didn't drive me to school every single day. I may have had a cheer routine or a dance recital or a dance practice that my parents just simply didn't go to. You know, I had to learn how to navigate the world on my own. Now, I think because I had to do that, then when I first became a parent, I thought, well, I want to be different. I want to be the perfect parent. I want to go to everything. I want to be at every single event. I want to be at every single game. I want to go to every single thing. Why do we feel like we have to do that? And is that helping our children learn stress?
I think you bring up a really good point too, because we put our kids in all sorts of activities, and sometimes I think we forget to look back and say, well, we kind of created this mess. So it's like, I think we all as parents want to provide our kids with the most experience as possible, and we don't want them to feel left out. We want them to be on the best teams. We want them to go to the best dance studios, all these sorts of things. So when we get really stressed out about all of it, I think we also need to remind ourselves, it's like we chose this. Like we chose it, right? And so we chose to put them in all of these things, and it is a bit chaotic, but we did have alternatives. We could have put them in, in a different type of soccer versus,
here's a big
one. We could have taken them to this dance studio instead of that one. It's a lot closer, but we choose a lot of these things that end up creating a lot of the stress in our lives. And so I think even just acknowledging that too might reduce your stress. You're like, oh, okay, we chose this, and here's the reason why.
Here's why.
Yeah.
And also, we're allowed to ask for help. Our neighbor, maybe we can ask our neighbor to help drive for something. I think we have to realize as parents that it's okay to not always be there. I mean, how we grew up. I would go off on my bike. My parents had no idea where I was. I mean, if I came home for dinner, that was good, and we were allowed to learn how to make decisions and navigate. And my parents were not always there. Now, my parents were ridiculously supportive. I consider myself a good person. They did a good job. But why do we feel like they have to be in all these activities? Because what we're finding in the kids is when they don't have an activity, they're bored. We're bored. All I hear is I'm bored. I'm like, I don't ever remember saying I'm bored when I was little. I would always find something to do. I would go outside. I'd call a friend. I'd ride my bike to their house. I'd find something to do. I used to play with my dolls and build houses and go out and catch caterpillars and put them in jars. I mean, whatever. When I was bored, my parents were like, great, go outside, figure it out. But we don't do that anymore. So that's my point of this generational stress that we're developing. We put it so much on ourselves to have our kids do everything. And all we're teaching them is that they have to do everything. And they don't. They don't. If they're passionate about something and they want to do it and they're joyful about it and you're joyful about it, enjoy that joy, right? And if it's busy with your schedule, then you need to adapt. You either need to say, okay, it's really important to me that I'm present for my kids for all this. So I'm going to say no to other things in my life. I'm going to let other things go. It's okay if the dishes aren't done. I know, ladies, I just said that. It's okay if the dishes aren't done. It's okay if there's a sock on the floor. And I'm saying that I'm a neat freak. I love to clean, but we get blown up over the little things in our life. If we wrote down every single bear we had throughout our day, if you took out a thing and you wrote down every single thing that made you say, oh, don't have any time. How many of those things could you let go so that you could really be present for the things that are important to you? If it's important to you as a parent to have your kids in every single thing and drive them to a certain school, you need to remind yourself, why are you doing it then? And if it's really important to you, it should be a joy. So if it's not a joy, you need to ask yourself, is this not something I want? Am I doing it because I'm told I'm supposed to do it? Because everyone else goes to this dance studio and this studio is supposed to be the best. And therefore, if my child doesn't go to that one, my child can't learn to dance, right? We need to start asking ourselves those questions. And then we need to start being really honest with ourselves about whether or not this is worth our energy. How we spend our energy in the day is so important. You get to delegate it. I chose to be here today with you, right? I could have said, oh, I have this podcast to record today. I got to drive all the way to Gilbert. It's going to take me like an hour. I don't have any time for that. And instead I woke up and said, awesome, I chose to go to Gilbert today. This will be fun. I've never really been here, right? I looked at it in a different way. I want to be here. I want to be present, and I am present, and I'm not thinking about anything else during it. And I think we have to start looking at our lives in that way because we've created this chaos, and we also have the opportunity to stop this chaos. You know, I actually, on that same note, I go to my kids' football games. My kids play football. Oh, not what I planned. And I leave their football games about halfway through to go to dance class. And a lot of the moms are like, you're leaving? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to dance. I'm here. I came here for what I could, but I also know that if I don't go and do my creative stuff and I don't take care of me, that I won't want to come to football. And I want to come to football and I want to be present in football. So I need to take care of me too. So it becomes a get to rather than a have to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I think self-care is undervalued right now. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of people that feel like there's not time to take care of themselves or to do the things they like to do. You said you like to dance and you're still dancing.
I dance about 7 hours a week.
Yeah.
It didn't start that way. I mean, it started with 1 hour, and my mom had just passed away. And I mean, I was devastated. I mean, she was my identity. I grew up following her around, doing what she did, you know? So when she passed, I went into a massive depression, and I didn't love being with my family, and I didn't love doing the things that I thought I loved to do. And when someone said, well, Tricia, what brings you joy? I just sat there with tears in my eyes. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I can be a doctor without her. Like, I don't even know, am I even good enough? Like, she was my support system. And so I woke up one day, and I don't know where it came from. People ask me all the time, was it divine? I don't know where it came from. But I woke up and I said, okay, you have a choice. You can continue going this way, and we know where that's going to end. I've lost 2 other family members to suicide. So I knew if I keep going in this direction, I'm going to follow that side of my family. Or I can do something different, and I can go this way. So I said, what is it you love to do more than anything? I'm going to go back to dance class. So I walked into a dance class at a dance studio. The girls were 13, 14 years old. It was an advanced hip hop class because when I left, I was advanced. Wasn't advanced at 40, but that's okay. And I thought, I'm just going to walk in here. And the most amazing thing was I walked in and I was thinking, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I'm going to look like an idiot. I can't remember the choreography. I used to be so good at this. Why am I not as good as I used to be? And then I looked over, and there was like a 13, 14-year-old girls next to me. And I realized they were thinking exactly the same thing. They were looking in the mirror thinking, this lady's going to judge me. Oh my gosh, what if I'm not good enough? And they weren't going all out because they were so self-conscious. And I thought, oh my God, it's like I'm 14. I have to rebuild this. I am good enough. I just need to keep showing up every week. And I showed up every week. And God bless my teacher who just, I'd maybe get 8 count of it, you know? And she was just like, good to see you, Tricia. See you next week. You know, I was welcomed, and that grew into twice a week, and then 3 times a week, and then 4 times a week. And now I dance about 7 hours a week. And if I don't dance, my kids are like, Mom, why aren't you going to dance class tonight? What's wrong with you? You need to go. Because they see that I'm more fun. I'm more present. I'm in a generally better mood when I dance, and even at the expense of leaving their football game. And I ask them, hey guys, I have dance tonight. Mom, you come for what you can and you go dance. We'll see you when you get home. They're so supportive of me. And I don't have to feel guilty about standing up for what I need. And my life is vastly different from what it was. And I did have that opportunity to go the other direction. And I think so many people have that opportunity and they have to make that choice. And I think it's really looking at, am I worth saving? And then setting a good example for the next generation, teaching them how to save themselves when they're faced with that, because they will at some point. We all face a moment.
So for people that are trying to just optimize their health now so that they are on the right trajectory, are there 4 or 5 things that you think everyone should just try to focus on, simple things every single day, just to just try to be on the right track?
Yeah. And this isn't lip service. It'll sound somewhat like it. But when you first wake up in the morning, a gratitude list, what you're grateful for, while you're still kind of in that fog, while your brain's still in an alpha wave state and you don't really kind of know where you are, that's a great time to say, today's a great day. It's full of opportunity. I'm going to take things as they come. I'm blessed to have this opportunity to be alive today, I think is important. I think what I talked about earlier about writing a list of all the things that bring you down, stress you out, people you associate with, keep track of that for 3 or 4 days. And then really honestly, sit down and look at it and say, do I need to spend my energy here? So if you look at it, every single situation like this, you look at it and say, number 1, do I have control over the outcome? Number 2, is it worth my energy to handle this? And then based on those 2 answers, you either let it go, take it on, or delegate it. It's really that simple. If something comes to me and I don't have any control over the outcome, there is absolutely no point in me taking it on. That's off the table. I either have to delegate it to someone else if I think it's worth my energy, or I have to let it go, right? And when something comes along that you can control and is worth your energy, the solution becomes so clear. And it's taken care of, it's off your list, you move on, and it's great. So I think really taking assessment of that. And you have to feel that gratitude. You have to really feel it. You can't just say it. And if you don't feel it, I'd ask you to look at, what did you do when you were a kid that made you just happy? If you were left alone and they said, hey, you can do whatever you want today, what would you have done? And when I looked back at that, music came into my head immediately. And I started to realize that when my dad died, the music died in my life. He was the musician. He used to play guitar. I would sing. I would dance. We always had music in our house. It was very important to him. And when he died, I stopped moving to my music. I just stopped listening to music because it made me sad and I didn't want to feel that, right? So then I remembered, what did it feel like when I'd hear him sing as a kid, when I'd wake up in the morning and he'd be in the kitchen playing the guitar. And I really loved music. So I started playing music. That's the first thing I did. And then I started moving to the music and I started realizing I really like to dance. I really like to dance and sing. That's fun. So really going back to, what did you enjoy doing that brought you joy? And then bringing yourself back to that feeling when you're doing those gratitude statements. As simple as it sounds, is really difficult and it takes practice, but it absolutely works. And this is shown, by the way, in research. And it's also shown that if you can bring gratitude and joy back in your life, you can extend your life by 7.5 years. That's more than stopping smoking or stopping alcohol, right? 7.5 years by just finding joy, something that you want to do, and then doing it and committing to yourself first, because everybody is watching you. Everybody around you is watching you. So show them what it's like to commit to something that you love to do so that they commit to something that they love to do.
I think Peter Attia talked about gratitude and he was looking at all the research behind it. And you brought up the longevity aspect of gratitude. And one thing that's interesting is you can't make yourself be grateful for stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can think about all the things that you're grateful for, and you can write lists of mm-hmm. what you're grateful for. And in many cases, you can just be like, oh yeah, like look at all these things I have to be grateful for. Mm-hmm. But you can't lie to yourself either.
Right.
Otherwise that doesn't work. And he said something that actually works to trigger the same types of longevity responses in your brain is seeing other people mm-hmm. do nice things for other people, mm-hmm. for which they show a lot of gratitude for, mm-hmm. emits the same response within us and can have that same longevity benefit to us. Mm-hmm. So to me, what that tells me is obviously like I can go look up videos of people doing things that are just amazing for others that are less fortunate or whatever, but also like just myself, like serving people and becoming that, because you don't know, maybe someone else is watching. We talk about being like the generational aspect of like our examples and everything, but like if we go out of our way to create an experience for somebody for which you can see a big sense of gratitude come from it, someone else might actually benefit from just even experiencing, just seeing that, right? Which is kind of cool. So even if you don't like list out all the things you're grateful for, looking to people that are serving others actually can help provide that same response within us. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an emotional response. You have to feel it. And, you know, my podcast is called What Am I Modeling? Obviously, it's playing off being a model, but it's exactly that. If I'm modeling serving other people, helping other people from a place of love, other people are going to get that from me, and it's going to be contagious. And if all of us just show up, and that could just be loving ourselves, by the way. Yeah. It doesn't have to be loving. It doesn't have to be donating more hours to going to do something. Doesn't mean keeping busy. It just means coming at everything from love, right? I've had difficult people in my life I've had to deal with. And there were times in my life where I took that as a negative, and then I started to look at it with love and say, wow, they're really struggling. Like that's their perspective is this. That's why they're that way. Oh, gosh, I give so much love to them.
Yeah.
And just that simple reframe does change the brain, especially if you can couple it with something. You know, I've always been into animals. I was originally going to become a veterinarian when I switched, but I can think of my dog and her cute little French bulldog smile and get this overwhelming sense of just like love and gratitude. That changes my health towards longevity. It's the emotion. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says that. It's not just doing the gratitude and the lists like you're talking about. You have to feel it. So you have to remember what made you feel good in the past and think of that so you can feel good. And when you start to feel good and pass it to other people, they feel good. And when they feel good, they pass it back, right? Your culture and your family. You have a large family. 5 kids?
I do.
Did I see? So if you can get each of you thinking of something good, you're going to just keep passing it around. And the energy just rises and rises and rises. And then it gets easier and easier and easier. So cool.
Well, as we kind of wrap this up, I know we're about at time here. One question I like to ask is about the generational health side of this podcast. And would just love to know what the concept of building generational health means to you.
I think it means modeling the behavior of the future health of our country and showing the future generations how to live successfully, happily, and healthily, right? And focusing on ourselves. We have to model that behavior for them and show them how to do it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming in. So is your practice here in Scottsdale, or where do you practice?
I'm in Central Phoenix. I have a concierge medical practice, and then a ton of stuff online, drpingel.com. Love to get out there and speak to people and spread that joy and spread that hope and that empowerment that no matter how you're feeling right now, no matter what is going on in your life, you do have the power to move forward. You will be okay. You know, I think sometimes we just have to change our reframe on what are we learning from this experience and what can we show others about how to get through these experiences and pass it forward and serve, as you say. So drpingel.com is a great place to find me and learn about everything I'm doing.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.